Welcome back, Truth Seeker. Last week, we had the death of George Foreman in Houston. And if you missed that video, go back and watch. It was the night before Houston defeated Gonzaga in the March Madness tournament. And I showed how his death was clearly connected to the tournament. He fought in 81 fights. He won 76. He died at 76. The next day, Houston defeated Gonzaga 81-76. Again, they defeated the Jesuit University when George Foreman died 129 days after the leader of the Jesuits. And in Gematria, George Foreman equals 129. So now, this weekend, on the eve of Houston's game in the Elite Eight, there's another national headline about 4 self-deletions in one Houston sheriff's office in 6 weeks. 4 self-deletions in 6 weeks. And remember, this is a big number with the tournament. March Madness equates to 46, as does Houston, Texas, as does Sacrifice. And again, Genesis 46 is about sacrifice. You might recall 46-year-old George Floyd from Houston, Texas, and what happened to him. If Houston wins tomorrow in the Elite Eight versus Tennessee, they're going to play in the Final Four on the 95th day of the year on 4-5. Remember, George Foreman was the oldest heavyweight champion at age 45, and he gave up that title in 95. And if Houston were to win in the Final Four and make it to the championship game, they would get their 45th win all-time in the tournament. And if they win the championship game, they would get their 46th all-time win in the tournament. Remember, Big George equals 42. They picked up their 42nd win in the tournament the day after he died. Now, when we did our bracket for the tournament, this is before George Foreman died. I was thinking Houston was going to make it to the Final Four, and I was thinking they'd face Tennessee, but they do have a tough narrative versus Tennessee. If they beat Tennessee, they'll get their 34th win of the season, and Tennessee equals 34. But the scary thing is, if Tennessee beats Houston, they're going to get their 31st win, and Houston equals 31. So we thought these teams were destined to meet in the Elite Eight. But yeah, I had Houston's season ending in the Final Four. I'll tell you what, if I'm wrong about that and Houston ends up winning the championship, George Foreman's death and this, again, this kind of stuff happens every year when there's championships. There are people who die for this. It's just like what they did before Philadelphia won the Super Bowl with that plane crashing on Roosevelt when Roosevelt has the same gematria as Super Bowl in all 4 base ciphers. But yeah, 4 self-deletions in 6 weeks. And for the record, Sheriff has double overlap with March Madness. And that's being the Sheriff's office. 4 dead before the Final Four. George Foreman. They said this is like a bomb going off. That's how Thomas McNeese, who heads the wellness program at the Harris equals 44 for the record. Harris County Sheriff's Office in Houston describes the aftermath of the 4th self-deletion connected to the department in the span of 6 weeks. And then they go on, 3 of the 4 deaths occurred within 1 week. 3 of the 4. Remember, the word suicide has a gematria value of 34, as does murder. And we've seen this before. Remember that Robert Luna guy? He took over as the head sheriff in L.A. right before the Lunar New Year's massacres in California. And the next thing you know, there were some self-deletions in his office. Makes you wonder what's really going on. They said 3 of the 4 were retired and 1 was active. I just said how Harris equals 44. Again, if you're new here, gematria is based on the alphabetic order forwards and backwards. If you run the alphabetic order the other way, Harris equals 37. The self-deletion of the active officer in the sheriff's office was 37 years old. So yeah, RIP to these people. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of law enforcement and people who serve our tyrannical government and its unjust laws. But again, anyone oft for these rigged sports tournaments, it is a sick thing that needs to be exposed, and more people need to know about it. For the record, the head sheriff in Houston is Ed Gonzalez. His name equates to 38, like death, like murder, like R.I.P. And if you missed my video on what happened to the young rapper yesterday in Atlanta who was sacrificed for Tom Izzo's big win in his city, you should go back and check that out. Michigan State's in their 38th season. That rapper was connected to a guy named DJ Swamp Izzo. And Tom Izzo got the symbolic win. We'll leave it there for now, Truth Seeker. Until next time.